This is a chili. It may look unassuming, but the chili is an evolutionary chemical weapon. It's spent millions of years investing in an arms race designed to discourage mammals from eating it with a ferocity that would make Vlad the Impaler look like Winnie the Pooh. Yet, somehow it's ended up being the hotly anticipated dinner guest at billions of tables worldwide. Despite the chili's best efforts to develop the ultimate mammalian deterrent, people have embraced this chemical weapon and said, "Yes please, I'll have that on my noodles." We didn't just eat it, we helped it move house. We took a tiny shrub from the wilds of South America and personally escorted it to every corner of the planet. So, how did a plant that clearly wants to poke us in the eye with a cocktail stick become not only the most popular guest at the party, but ultimately a sensational global success story? And was Christopher Columbus actually a genius, or was he just a man who was very lost and suspiciously masochistic? This hot takeover has its roots, you've got to love a botanical pun, in a time before the invention of the fridge or the internet, even before a time when the height of culinary prowess was scraping the charcoal off your roast mammoth, a time when our little chili was first learning how to be truly aggressively rude to almost anything with a pulse. 2 million years ago, in the scrublands of South America, the chili was not a global superstar. It was just a small, stubborn shrub with an attitude problem. Many plants have evolved the strategy of offering a tasty fruit to be eaten so their seeds can be deposited elsewhere, usually in a convenient pile of natural fertilizer. But the chili was a bit of a hipster and decided it didn't like the mainstream way of doing things. It didn't want its seeds chewed up by the grinding molars of mammals. That would just ruin everything. Instead, it engaged in a bit of chemical warfare. It developed a molecule called capsaicin. This wasn't a poison exactly, it was something far more devious. So devious that we don't just eat it, we use it as an industrial bouncer. Today, we mix capsaicin into marine paint for ships. It turns out even barnacles don't like a spicy hull, making the chili the only fruit capable of helping a tugboat regain its personal space. Capsaicin is a key that fits perfectly into a very specific lock in the mammalian body called the TRPV1 receptor. This stands for tastes repulsively, painfully vile, and is the body's "oops, I'm on fire" alarm. Usually reserved for telling your brain, now sticking your finger into the campfire was a bit silly, wasn't it? When a prehistoric hamster took a nibble, the chili sent a fake news report to the brain insisting that the mouth was literally on fire. And what burns going in also burns coming out, as anyone who's experienced the morning after a vindaloo will attest. Of course, the plant wasn't actually hot temperature-wise, it was just lying. It was the perfect defense, foolproof, unstoppable, until it encountered the one creature in the universe stupid enough to mistake a warning for a seasoning. But before people showed up to ruin the chili's ingenious plan, the plant had already made a very exclusive deal with a group of high-flying regulars who didn't feel the heat at all. To the chili, mammals were a darned furry inconvenience with chompy, seed-crushing teeth and had to be discouraged. And there's nothing like inconvenience to drive natural selection. Birds, on the other hand, were lovely, feathery, toothless potential seed distribution systems. You see, birds are biologically incapable of feeling the heat of capsaicin. Evolution's gift to the bird was that if you're going to spend your life flying through clouds and pooping on statues, you shouldn't have to worry about spicy food. Birds lack the specific receptor that capsaicin plugs into, meaning they can munch on the hottest habanero like it's a refreshing slice of cucumber. This is why they look so smug while eating things that would make a grown man weep into his napkin. Little feathery sociopaths. This was a brilliant arrangement for the chili, that the birds would eat the fruit, fly miles away, and then, to use a technical term, airdrop the seeds in a fresh location, perfectly intact and ready to grow. It was an exclusive members-only club where the only entry requirement was wings and the benefit was a snack that no one else wanted. For millions of years, this worked perfectly. The chili lived in a world of peace, quiet and colourful feathers. But then along came a primate with a very strange brain. About 6,000 years ago, humans in Central and South America began to notice these bright red berries. Most animals took one bite, felt their tongue attempt to leave their body, and never touched them again. But humans are different. We're the only species that looks at a sign saying, "Danger, high voltage," and thinks, "I wonder if that would taste good with a bit of lime and salt." We decided that the pain wasn't a warning, it was a vibe. We liked the pain so much that we started growing chilies on purpose, ensuring they'd never have a moment's peace again. However, the chili's real global career didn't start until a confused Italian man turned up and made an important geographical blunder. In 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain with a very simple to-do list. Find a shortcut to India, get some black pepper, and try not to fall off the edge of the world. He was obsessed with black pepper, the wrinkly, dark stuff that comes from a vine in India, which at that time was so expensive it was essentially used as currency. Now, poor old Columbus didn't have Google Maps, which meant he had to rely on a compass, a device that unhelpfully just points north and can't tell you there's a bit of a traffic jam on the way to Jakarta. When he landed in the Caribbean, he was convinced he reached the East Indies, mostly because he was the sort of man who would refuse to ask for directions even if his life depended on it. He didn't find any black pepper vines, but he did find the locals eating small fiery red fruits. He took a bite, experienced the chemical equivalent of a punch to the throat, and decided that because it was spicy, it must be related to the pepper he was looking for. This is typical European arrogance. It's like calling a hippopotamus a river horse. How ridiculous. Oh wait, doesn't hippopotamus mean river horse? Well, moving on. Botanically, the chili is a berry, but because of Columbus's aggressive naming error, the world has spent half a millennium calling it a pepper. He brought these peppers back to Europe, likely telling Queen Isabella they were a new and improved version of a spice that also functioned as a practical joke. Europe wasn't entirely sold on the idea of eating something that felt like a localized riot in your mouth, but the Portuguese saw a business opportunity. They realized that while Europeans liked a bit of bland white parsley sauce on their boiled gristle, the rest of the world preferred their food to taste less like a damp field. They began trading chili along their routes, turning it into the most successful accidental traveler in human history. Within a few decades, the chili had invaded India, Africa, and China, changing their cuisines so fundamentally that we now find it hard to imagine a curry without them. It was a global hot takeover, all because one man was too proud to admit he'd ended up in the wrong hemisphere. But the real madness started when we stopped treating chili as a spice and started treating it as a competitive sport. If the chili pepper were a person, it would be the sort of backpacker who leaves for a weekend in Brussels and ends up running a yoga retreat in Bali 3 years later. While Columbus was busy being wrong about geography, the Portuguese traders were busy being right about logistics. They realized that chilies were the perfect commodity. They grew like weeds, required almost no maintenance, and provided a massive flavor punch for people who couldn't afford expensive black pepper. In the Aztec world, chilies had been used as a tribute or imperial taxation. It was the only currency that could simultaneously pay your debts and season your dinner. But it wasn't just for eating. People turned the plant's defensive malice into weaponry. Ancient records described Aztec warriors burning chilies to create painful smoke screens, the world's first recorded use of pepper spray as a military tactic. The chili wasn't just a weapon, it was a spiritual bodyguard. In Bhutan, people burn chilies to chase away demons. In India, it's hung on doorways to ward off the evil eye. It's the ultimate multitasker, a plant that can simultaneously season your tacos, punish your enemies, and protect your soul from maleficent spirits. The Portuguese distributed chilies across the African coast faster than head lice in a kindergarten. By the early 1500s, chilies were already integrated into Indian cooking, providing a level of heat that made the previous spicy foods look like a bowl of lukewarm porridge. In less than a century, the chili had traveled further than most humans ever would in a lifetime, transforming the cuisine of entire continents. And as the world got used to the heat, one man decided we needed a way to measure exactly how much we were suffering. By 1912, we still had no way of knowing if a pepper was a gentle tickle or a medical emergency until it was too late. Enter Wilbur Scoville, a pharmacist who decided that the highest scientific standard for measuring heat was to feed chili extract to human testers. Imagine the recruitment process for Wilbur's testers. He wasn't hiring scientists, he was hiring professional sufferers. He would keep adding sugar water until the testers could no longer feel the burning sensation, and the number of times it needed to be diluted became the Scoville scale. It was a system based entirely on the pain threshold of a few blokes with scorched tongues, which is about as scientific as measuring height in Keanu's. But this paved the way for modern botanical Dr. Frankensteins like Smokin' Ed Curry. Ed is the scientist behind the Carolina Reaper and Pepper X, which currently holds the chili heat record at 2.69 million Scoville units. Most people think the seeds are the hottest part, but the seeds are actually innocent bystanders. The real ouch juice is concentrated in the white ribs, aka the placenta. The seeds only feel hot because they're coated in the chemical spite dripping from the walls. We eat this spite because our brains are fundamentally broken. Psychologists call it benign masochism. Our mouth feels high temperature without any actual heat. It's a sensory fraud that triggers a rush of endorphins, the chemicals in our bodies that block pain and make us feel happy. We've effectively turned a plant's desperate attempt at survival into a culinary firework display. The chili spent millions of years trying to make us go away because it only wanted the birds to spread its seed. And ironically, it's humans' love of a fiery gastronomic challenge that has caused chili to be spread beyond its wildest ambition. The chili pepper tried to invent the botanical equivalent of a restraining order, and with typical human perversity, we responded by holding chili-eating endurance competitions. Without intending it at all, the chili caused the most dangerous apex predator on the planet to clear forests to make sure it never goes extinct. Most plants want to be useful, like wheat, or beautiful, like roses. But the chili became a planetary staple by being a bit of a prick. Today, the chili is everywhere. It's even been grown on the International Space Station. In the infinite, silent vacuum of the cosmos, there's now a small red fruit waiting to ruin an astronaut's afternoon. It's a terrifying thought that space isn't just empty, it's piquant. It has outlasted empires and survived the naming idiocy of Christopher Columbus. It's even become a symbol of political defiance. In Hungary, the paprika was championed specifically to spite the Austrians. It's a vegetable that's effectively been used as a flag, a currency, and a ritual incense, proving that if you're annoying enough for long enough, humanity will eventually make you a cultural icon. Perhaps we aren't the masters of nature after all. Perhaps we're just in a narcissistic relationship with a very manipulative, angry little berry. And as long as we keep chasing that endorphin rush, the chili will keep winning, which is a sobering thought to have while you're reconsidering your life choices over a bowl of spicy noodles.